Sharma of FoodSpeak. Today I am going to be making creamy pesto fusilli with smoked chicken sausages and broccoli. This is a complete, nutritious and balanced meal. Protein from the sausages, wonderful vitamins and minerals from the broccoli and the fresh pesto. To make my pesto, I am going to be using lots and lots of basil, walnuts, garlic, salt, pepper and olive oil. The Parmesan cheese I'm not going to be putting in my pesto, I'm actually going to be adding it into the pasta later. I often make my pesto using a mortar and pestle, but today since I'm going to be using the pesto straight away, I'm just going to do it quick and easy, whizzing it up in my blender. First, I'll start with the nuts. Pine nuts are prohibitively expensive in Mumbai. Walnuts are relatively more affordable. So we have Sicilian pesto instead of Italian. After I add the nuts to the blender, I'm going to be adding a pinch of salt. That's just to mimic the action in the mortar and pestle. I've used about quarter cup of nuts. I'm going to move to a bigger blender now. And basil. I'm going to pour about 7 cloves of garlic, pinch of pepper, a little bit more salt since we've not added parmesan, and a nut. Generous amounts of olive oil. Time to add the rest of the nuts, remaining basil. Midway, I like to add a little bit more olive oil. Oh wow, look at that color. And let's give it a quick taste as well. A little bit more pepper. Let's check. Ooh, that's so pretty. Perfect. Time to move on to the pasta. To make the pasta sauce, I'm going to be using this wonderful new discovery. It's tender garlic, actually what we know is garlic chives. I'm also going to be using broccoli, both the stem and the florets, and finely sliced onions to chop the broccoli. The cooking time of the stems is longer than the florets. So you need to get rid of the sides to expose the tender part inside. The nutrition value is just as much. You don't have to make them too fine. Chunks is good enough. Lends a lovely bite. Place a pot of cold water on high heat. To the cold water, add the broccoli stems. When it reaches a rapid boil, we'll be adding the florets just to blanch them. So in the meantime, I'm going to cut up my florets. That's the broccoli done. Finely slice the onions. Okay, so it's reached a boil. You blanch broccoli by adding it to this water, waiting for the water to return back to a boil, and then switching the heat off and draining it immediately. I'm using smoked chicken sausages and I'm cutting them nicely into diagonals. It makes them look pretty, but it also increases the surface area so it can catch more of the pesto. Because local sausages don't taste anything like England sausages, I use the smoked variety. Adds a little bit more punch. Switch that off, drain it out immediately, reserving the water. I'm going to be making the pasta in the same water just so that if there's any goodness leaked out into the water, we just capture it. And add olive oil and salt. Return back to a boil and then add the pasta. In the meantime, while it's returning to a boil, I'll just prep the garlic. So I've removed the roots. Now I'm just going to finely slice up the garlic part and keep the chives to add on to the pasta later. The prep for the pasta is complete. My estimation for pasta is generally 2 handfuls per person. And then 1 for luck. And cover to bring back to boiling point. It's reached a rapid boil. We need to lower the heat so it's more of a rolling boil. Don't cover it again. Set your timer for 10 minutes so we get al dente. The pasta is done. Drain it out, reserving the water, which I'm going to use to loosen up my sauce. They say cooking the pasta in its own environment makes the whole sauce more yum. Switch on the heat to about medium. Heat some olive oil. Add a teaspoon of red chilies to flavor up the oil. Don't burn them. When it releases a fragrance, add in the garlic. Since it's tender fresh garlic, it's going to cook pretty fast. So pretty soon, it's best to just add in the onion so it slows down the cooking process. To enable that to happen, it's always a good idea to add a little bit of salt. So just a pinch. So remember that we added salt in the pesto, and Parmesan cheese is also salty, and I've put salt here, so we probably won't need to add any more salt later. The onions are nice and translucent. Time to add in the sausages. Now these are pre-cooked, so we don't really need to be cooking them too long, just to warm them through. I'm just going to finely slice up the chives, which we're just going to sprinkle on top at the end. Time to reintroduce the broccoli and the pesto. Give it a nice mix. I'm going to use, for this quantity, about 3 heaped tablespoons of pesto. I mentioned that this is creamy pesto, so I will be adding some cream. Again, 3 tablespoons of cream. To loosen it up, add some of the environment. Cover and leave to cook. It's time to check the pasta. Smells good. So now I'm going to add the cheese. English cheddar, I've again about 3 tablespoons. And the same of Parmesan. I'm going to taste now to see if we need to add any more salt or pepper. You'll think this is just for show, but it is perfect. What a wonderful way to go green. Till next time, my lovelies. The full recipe is available in the description box below. Please do subscribe before you go. Hit the bell icon to get episode updates and follow me on Instagram at FoodSpeak.in. See you soon, my lovelies.